Good morning, everyone. So today's topic of discussion is intraoral periapical radiographs. So basically, dental radiographs are divided into intraoral radiograph and the extraoral radiographs. In intraoral radiographs, the film or the receptor is placed inside the oral cavity and the X-ray source is placed outside the oral cavity. Intraoral radiographs are the backbone for a general dentist, which helps in a proper oral management of the patient. So intraoral radiographs are basically divided into three types: the periapical radiographs, the bite-wing radiographs and the occlusal radiographs. The periapical radiographs cover the area of the teeth, like both the tooth crown and the root is covered with the surrounding bone. The bite wings cover the crown of the upper and the lower teeth with the adjacent alveolar crest, and the occlusal radiographs cover the teeth with the larger area of the surrounding bone when compared to the periapical radiographs. So what should be the criteria for a best radiographic quality is, the radiograph which is to be exposed should cover the area of interest on the image, and the radiograph should be of minimum distortion with no foreshortening and magnification, and should be of maximum optimal density and contrast for a proper management of a patient. So let us see the indications of a periapical radiographs. So among all the intraoral radiographs, periapical radiographs are the most commonly indicated or advised. Indications being, the most common is any periapical infection or inflammation which can be detected, which is the most common symptom of the patient. And the next would be the assessment of the periodontal status, presence and position of the unerupted or impacted teeth. After the trauma, to know the condition of the teeth and the associated alveolar bone. Assessment of the root morphology before any extractions. During endodontics, to evaluate any periapical cyst or any other pathologies. To know the extent of the periapical pathologies. Evaluation of the implants post-operatively and pre-operatively and post-operatively to know to assess any periapical surgeries, and also to know any foreign bodies if they are present. So before taking any radiograph, could be an intraoral and extraoral, three important points should be kept in mind. One is the positioning of the patient, then the exposure parameters and the processing techniques. So when all these three are done accurately, you get an image of very excellent quality which helps in proper management of a patient. So what all steps should be kept in mind before exposing any radiograph? The first thing is greet and see the patient. First thing is, ask the patient to sit on a dental chair properly with a backrest and a headrest straight. And whenever you're taking for the maxillary teeth, ask the patient to slightly lower the head, and when you're taking for the mandibular, slightly elevate the head in order to compensate the occlusal plane parallel to the floor. And whenever the patient is sitting on the chair, make sure that the mid-sagittal plane is perpendicular and the occlusal plane is parallel to the floor. Then explain the procedure to the patient. Adjust the X-ray unit setting, adjust the three parameters, the KVP, ME and the exposure time. So every time the exposure time has to be changed depending upon the anatomical location. Then the position of the tube head, adjust the tube head on the side where you are examining. Then examine the oral cavity. Before that, wash your hands thoroughly. Area of interest should be examined thoroughly. Check for any defects in the oral cavity or the anatomic location, for example tora and all. And then position the film or the image receptor. Adjust the tube head. Vertical angulations and both the other horizontal angulation have to be positioned properly. Then make the exposure time. So depending on the anatomical location, the exposure parameter or the exposure time has to be adjusted or need to be adjusted every time. Then coming to the intraoral periapical projections, there are two main types of projections. One is a paralleling cone technique and the second is a bisecting angle technique. Paralleling cone technique is also called as long cone technique or right angle technique. Bisecting technique is also called as short angle technique. But the most common technique used is a paralleling cone technique by most of the dentists in order to have an accurate diagnosis with a minimum distortion. Now coming to the paralleling cone technique, which is also called as a long cone technique or a right angle technique. So this was first described by Edmund Kells in 1896 and revived by Donald McCorb in 1935 and later modified by Gordon Fitzgerald in 1947. So in this technique, the film is placed parallel to the long axis of the teeth and the central ray is perpendicular to the both teeth and the film what is placed inside the oral cavity. So this is how the central ray passes, the red line passes through the long axis of the teeth, and the blue one the film or the receptor. So the red ray, which is the central ray, is perpendicular to both the teeth and the film what is placed. So one thing in the parallel cone technique are both vertical angulation and horizontal angulation, they get adjusted by themselves when the cone is placed properly, or they get represented by themselves. So why long cone is used here? In order to have an image of very minimum distortion. So the distance between the X-ray source and the film should be more when compared to the bisecting angle technique. So the above picture is showing you a short cone which is used in bisecting angle technique, which have got a more magnification. In the below picture is showing you a longer cone which is giving you a radiographic image of very much minimal magnification of the image. Then the film holders are used in both the technique. The most common film holders which is used in the paralleling technique is a XCP, called as extension cone paralleling technique. This is used in order to have a more long distance from the X-ray source. So it has got three parts. One is a slot to keep the X-ray film, then the extension arm, and the third one is a cylindrical ring. So the slot which is used to keep the X-ray film, when it is taken for the anterior teeth, it is vertically placed, and for the posteriors it is horizontally placed. And this is called a cylindrical aiming ring. This aims your central ray to the film placed in the oral cavity and the teeth, and which gets adjusted by themselves, both the vertical and the horizontal angulations. Now coming to the bisecting angle technique, which is also called as short cone technique, first described by the Western Price in 1904, is also called as short cone technique. This technique is basically based on the Szyszynski's rule of isometry, which states that a triangle is said to have two equal angles when it is shared by one complete side. So the same technique or the same Szyszynski's rule of isometry is followed in the bisecting angle technique or incorporated, that when a film is placed as close as possible to the teeth, there is a triangle formed between the film and the teeth. So this triangle is divided by an imaginary line which is also called as bisector. The central ray which is directed from outside should be perpendicular to this imaginary bisector line in order to have a image of excellent quality with minimum distortion. So in this technique we give various vertical angulations and horizontal angulations. In this technique we use a film holding instrument which is called as snap array. Vertical angulation is the one wherein you move the tube head up and down, and horizontal angulation is the one where you move the tube side to side. So these two angulations are given in bisecting angle technique. Horizontal angulation, wherein the central beam should pass through the contact areas of the teeth, and vertical angulation is where you give different for different teeth. For example, in the maxillary anteriors, that is in the incisor, this is plus 40, mandibular is minus 15, canines is plus 45, and mandibular canines is minus 20, maxillary premolars is plus 30, mandibular premolars is minus 10, maxillary molars is plus 25, mandibular molars is minus 5. So these vertical angulations and horizontal angulation why we give is in order to make the central ray perpendicular to the imaginary bisector line or imaginary line. Now let us see what are the advantages and disadvantages of these two techniques. When we compare the paralleling cone and the bisecting angle technique, paralleling cone technique have got a more advantages because it gives an image of very accurate image with very little magnification, distortion, and no foreshortening and elongation. There is no superimposition of the zygomatic buttress or zygomatic arch over the roots of the molars, and the periodontal bone level or the status is very well represented in the paralleling cone technique when compared to the bisecting angle technique. And both the vertical and the horizontal angulation, they get determined by themselves when the film holder is placed properly. There are no chance of cone cutting and cone off, and the image are of very good, excellent quality. And the disadvantages of these techniques are wherever the anatomy of the oral cavity is compromised, where the patient is having a narrow, shallow or palate, or any tori, or any patient is having any gag reflex, this technique is not applicable. And this technique requires a very long cone when compared to the bisecting angle technique, and it is a time consuming, and this technique, taking in this technique in third molar region is very difficult because patient usually have a gag reflex. Now coming to the advantages of bisecting angle technique, it is very less time consuming, very easy to train the radiographer, and comfortable to the patient, easy to practice. If the angulations are given very well, the image will be of very excellent quality. Now coming to the disadvantage of this technique is it gives an image of very elongation or foreshortening, and it has a overlapping if the horizontal angulation is not given properly, and you usually see the superimposition of the zygomatic arches over the roots of molars, and chances of cone cutting are more if there is a misalignment of the cone. So whatever technique, whatever radiograph you are taking, three important points should be kept in mind. One is the positioning of the patient, one is the technique what you are going to take, the exposure parameters, and the processing technique what you are going to follow. The other type of intraoral radiographs are the bite wing radiographs. Bite wing radiographs again play a very important role in diagnosing the various caries. The most important indication being the identification of the proximal caries to assess the progression of the dental caries, to assess any restoration, for example, if they have a overhanging restorations, to know the level of the alveolar crest, to know the deposits of calculi. So a full mouth set of radiographs includes all the periapical radiographs of all upper and the lower jaw with a set of bite wing radiographs. Now the third type of intraoral radiographs are the occlusal radiographs. Occlusal radiographs, when compared to the periapical, cover the larger area of the teeth and the surrounding bone. The types of the occlusal radiographs, they are broadly classified into the maxillary and the mandibular. They are classified as maxillary occlusal cross-sectional radiographs, which covers the teeth from the last molar to the contralateral last molar. Maxillary lateral occlusal radiographs, which cover the teeth from the last molar to the contralateral lateral incisor, and the mandibular occlusal radiographs, maxillary topographic occlusal radiographs, which covers the teeth from the canine to canine region. The same classification is followed for the mandibular occlusal cross-sectional radiographs, wherein the teeth are covered from the last molar to the contralateral last molar, mandibular occlusal lateral radiographs, and the mandibular topographic occlusal radiographs, where the tooth are covered from the canine to canine region. So the most common indication being for the occlusal radiograph is to know the extent of periapical cyst or the tumors which cannot be covered or which cannot be seen clearly in the periapical radiographs. Other than this, it is useful in detection of any foreign bodies, in detection of siloliths or any calcifications in the submandibular or sublingual gland. It also helps in identification of any fractures, pathological fractures. It also helps in identification of any foreign bodies. Occlusal radiographs are also indicated in case of multiple supernumerary impacted teeth. Occlusal radiographs are also helpful in diagnosing the unerupted molars or impacted teeth. So this is what is the importance of intraoral radiograph in day-to-day practice. So one should be thorough enough in technique, processing technique, exposure technique, and the position of the patient to have a radiograph of minimum distortion with optimal density and contrast, which will give an overall view of a radiograph excellent, which helps in the overall management of the patient. Thank you.